welcome everyone to Lunch Without Lunch. My name is Amber Rowden. I am the community storyteller at Rainforest Alberta here in Calgary. I'm just going to try and get rid of these bars. Oh, so close. Okay. Well, if you haven't been to Lunch Without Lunch, this is our weekly Wednesday connection to meet new people, to hear what's happening in the Alberta technology and innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem. If you're new to Lunch Without Lunch, please throw an emoji on the screen, introduce yourself in the chat. We want to get to know you. And if you've been here before, also introduce yourself in the chat and introduce yourself to the newer people and let's get to know each other. So we also have a steering committee in Edmonton. They're a volunteer group that run Rainforest in Edmonton. We merge our events together, our Lunch Without Lunch online, but they also have a lot of cool events that are happening in Edmonton. So if you're in the Edmonton area, I would highly suggest connecting with them as well. And before we get started, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. So in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation, Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. If you're coming from somewhere else in the province, in the country, or in the world, please share a land acknowledgement in the chat and reconciliation in the chat. Also, if you are looking for to share a land acknowledgement or reconciliation with us at Rainforest Alberta, we would be happy to open that discussion and have you share a land acknowledgement at the beginning of Lunch Without Lunch. So you can connect with me or Bridget, and Bridget Legault is also with Rainforest Alberta. She's the community manager. She's not here today, but you will definitely see her around. She should be back next week. So what is Rainforest Alberta? Well, we are a community of entrepreneurs, doers, dreamers, innovators that are working to build culture and trust and innovation in Calgary, in Alberta, and we help each other with ideas and growth across the province. So we have a video here that'll kind of help explain what Rainforest Alberta is.
What does it take to realize an idea or for a seed to sprout? At Rainforest Alberta, we know the answer is rooted in trust. Traditionally, Albertans have cultivated their ideas in established systems. Inputs that don't fit these systems are weeded out. Opportunities for growth are missed. But now, Albertans want a dynamic landscape that can evolve organically, like a rainforest. At Rainforest Alberta, we believe a culture of trust is the fertile soil where ideas grow. Our budding innovation ecosystem is a network of relationships pulling each other up as they push forward in their own field. Trust breaks down barriers. An open, inclusive network increases collaborative innovation. Successful breakthroughs inspire new ideas. A cycle begins. Rainforest Alberta is a movement to amplify trust by cultivating honesty, inclusion, and accountability. How? Our social contract holds us accountable to demonstrate trust across the province. We meet to have honest conversations around collaboration. This leads to more inclusive spaces for everyone to fearlessly build new ideas, together. By raising the standard of trust, Alberta's ideas, talent, and resources can be evergreen. Visit rainforestab.ca to sign the social contract and start growing together.
So we use 6 pillars to guide our conversations and actions, and not all are weighted equally. Like any ecosystem, the right balance is crucial, and we measure these each year through our scorecard assessment. So our scorecard assessment is analysis of the strengths and weaknesses that are happening within the ecosystem. So Calgary has one and Edmonton has one, but we're looking to merge Edmonton and Calgary together to give a broader perspective on how Alberta is doing as a whole. So at Rainforest Alberta, culture is weighted 30%. It's the one that we focus on the most, building a culture of trust, building a culture of like-minded individuals coming together to build ideas. We focus 20% on leaders, people in the ecosystem who are paving the way for folks to learn new ideas or to try out new ideas. 15% are resources. So, resources like partners that we work with, such as, Platform Calgary or the Calgary Innovation Coalition, and other partners in the ecosystem that help support entrepreneurs. 10% is engaged activities. So engaged activities like Lunch Without Lunch, or, Tech Talent Tuesday, or Tech Talent Thursday. I think I got that name wrong, but other events that are happening within the ecosystem. 15% is policy and infrastructure. So those would be like the government policies and the infrastructure that's happening. And 10% are role models. So these are individuals within the ecosystem that are looked upon as role models, someone you look up to. And then we also have a diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging component that we added to our scorecard assessment about a year ago. And so we measure the ecosystem based on that as well. And so tips to making the most of Lunch Without Lunch. How Lunch Without Lunch works, if this is your first time, we start with an introduction, and then we have a presentation. And then after the presentation, you can ask questions. And after that, we go into networking, and that's kind of where the magic happens. You get to meet people that maybe you've never met before, and that's where ideas can spark. And then we go into community announcements. But to make the most out of Lunch Without Lunch, introduce yourself in the chats, what you're working on, what you're looking for, what you can offer. It's all about getting to know each other and to build these ideas. You can connect with individuals through direct messaging. Put your camera on. It's always great to match a name with a face and to see each other, especially in the virtual world. Ask questions that lead with curiosity rather than offering advice. We always want to lead with curiosity in the rainforest. You can ask questions and connect our digital community, which I will touch on in a second. You can check out #LunchNotes for capture of today's chat, which is on our Slack channel. So if you sign our social contract, you will get an onboarding email, and you will get an invite to our Slack channel and our digital community. And our Slack channels where we post announcements and our lunch notes as well. And then our recordings are posted on YouTube. So if you missed the session from a couple weeks ago and you want to check it out, or you want to rewatch today's session, they'll always be on YouTube for you to look at them. So our social contract are 10 values that we work, live, and play by. They're kind of a code of conduct of, being a good person. And so we ask that, if you're in the community, you live by these values, and you pay it forward in the work that you're doing and how you treat each other as individuals. And so if you scan that barcode, that'll take you to our social contract. I'll also throw the link in the chat. And then we also have a digital community. So our digital community is a great place to ask questions. So if you're curious about the tech and innovation community, if you're looking for, knowledge that you can't find anywhere else, I know people say like, oh, I can just look up a question on Google or ChatGPT, but those aren't meaningful responses. Inkly gives you a clear pathway on people that can actually answer questions for you, that tacit knowledge that you can't find anywhere else. And it's across Alberta. So it's connecting people not just in Calgary, but, people in Red Deer, people in Medicine Hat, people in Edmonton. You can connect with people all over that have had these experiences across Alberta that can help you on your path to entrepreneurship. So you can scan that barcode, that'll take you to our digital community, and I'll also throw the link in the chat. And if you have any questions or any struggles getting onto Inkly or the social contract, please reach out to me and Bridget. We're more than happy to walk you through that and to help you with that process. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to introduce our guest speakers for today. So today we are joined by Dr. Tonya Wolfe. She is the Associate Vice President of Applied Research at Red Deer Polytechnic and has been overseeing the growth of the Center for Innovation in Manufacturing. So today, she's going to tell us a little bit about the Center for Innovation in Manufacturing and take us on a little tour. So without further ado, Tonya, I'm going to pass it over to you and to Sherry as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Great to be involved in this this community, and looking forward to the exploration of all of those curiosities today. So my name is Tonya Wolfe. I'm here to talk to you about the Center for Innovation in Manufacturing, which is a technology access center at Red Deer Polytechnic. And just so everyone knows, I've got Sherry O'Meara. She's going to be our technical sidekick today to make sure that all of the presentation is going. And as we move around the space, you'll get a sneak peek at some of the novel pieces of equipment that can start that curiosity exploration. You won't see everything that's here today, but we're going to take you through some of the pieces that are a little bit interesting and novel in the manufacturing space. So just to start off about what is a technology access center, I think this month we've been seeing quite a few of the technology access centers that are located across Alberta, but there are 60 of them across all of Canada. And we're all located inside Polytechnics, colleges, or CEGEPs, and funded in or supported in portion by NSER. So there's 8 of us here in Alberta, and what TACs do that are unique is that we support small and medium-sized companies, specifically with technology adoption in the area of our expertise in our particular region. So for example, in terms of syntax, we help companies produce new prototypes. So in the product development piece, we work specifically in design for manufacturing. So you might have a really great idea, but it's totally not manufacturable. So how can we work with you, especially in the early stages, to make sure that when you're ready for that scale up piece, that you've got the right design to grow? Also, what is the advanced manufacturing technology or emerging technologies that can support your manufacturing environment? I was like, oh, it's a picture of me in there too. Along that space, as much as you're willing to accept, because everybody's on a different journey, and where are they to make the right decisions along their business path to add value in that piece. So our team will connect with you and figure out where you're at and where we can help you at the right spot along your business journey. So projects can be as small as just a conversation or as large as a multi-year applied research project. And one thing to note here at the big bottom piece here is any IP that's generated within the Technology Access Centers program, and I'm going to speak for most colleges in general, belongs to the industry partner. So we don't take any IP. And that's just a different business model we have in terms of scale up and supporting the companies that are located in Canada. I think we go to the next slide. Thanks. So the Center for Innovation in Manufacturing opened in 2009 after Red Deer Polytechnic acquired its first commercial 3D printer. I actually have, it was located right behind it. So that's a bit of time that's passed. So we've been fortunate being able to upgrade that to the newest technology, and I'll talk a little bit about that later when we walk around. Since we were awarded Technology Access Center funding or status in 2020, and since then we've been really focusing on delivering high value added services in the areas of engineering and manufacturing excellence. We have $7.6 million of advanced manufacturing equipment in our facility that we use to deliver solutions that meet our industry partners' needs, including multiple 3D printers that print a variety of materials, and I'll show you some of those today. At our core, we're an applied research facility specializing in all things related to manufacturing. But in order to do the applied research, we need to have a partner, someone who has a problem that needs to be solved. Once we have that partner, what we do is simple. We help them with research and development for their manufactured products or manufacturing processes. The two are really connected together. So when we're making a decision on a product, it absolutely has implications on the process as well. So doing a research project with us allows a company to leverage our staff, our technologies, and our partner TACs across the country to solve their manufacturing issue. So that's an important thing to consider in that piece is the 8 TACs here that we have in Alberta. If there's an issue in another piece, that we can connect with that TAC to resolve that issue and then continue on the manufacturing piece. But not only here in Alberta, we connect with all the other TACs. So we have projects that we're working on in Quebec, in Ontario, in BC, and in New Brunswick, where we partner with those TACs to deliver additional solutions and support beyond just the manufacturing piece. As an end-to-end manufacturing facility capable of prototyping, low-run manufacturing, and I'll talk about that a little bit, design engineering, consulting, testing, and training, we're well positioned to drive advancement of digital technologies and manufacturing in Alberta. Being a government-funded technology access center means our partners can leverage government grants to access our services in many cases. So we work with clients to decide what kind of grant might be right for them, or if the grant option is not suitable, we offer fee-for-service applied research to cover their scope of work. And we partner with many different industry or partners here, and we've got a list on the screen here of some of them, but that is not an exclusive list by any means. We can certainly work and figure out where all those different options are, depending on your status and what the problem is that you want to solve. So how to connect with us? There's a whole bunch of different ways here. So if you wanted to learn more about Tech Access Canada and find a TAC, then you can go to the jump ball piece, and there's a piece at the beginning. And what that happens is that request then goes out to all 60 TACs, and we all evaluate and see, can we support with this? If we can, we'll put in a notice, and then you'll contact us directly. But also you can come to any one of us and say, this is my question or concern or problem, or where I'm at, or I have this idea, but I'm not really sure even where to start with that. Then there's a number of ways that you can get to us, either through our website, directly through our email. We do have a Facebook account, and we're on LinkedIn quite a bit as well. So there's a number of touch points that you can connect with us. So before I move on and start showing you around the facility, is there any questions that anybody has? I don't know if I see any. Looks good.
Hi, Tonya.
All
Sorry.
right. Hey.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I love the facility. Thanks for the tour a few months ago, and I've referred a few entrepreneurs to your programs. And I'm just wondering if you could explain a little bit more about, I understand that, is it free for the entrepreneurs, or is there how does that work?
How does that work? Yeah, so every project has a budget with it, right? So that funding that we get from technology or from NSERC, it really supports our operations. And as everybody is aware, R&D isn't a money-making exercise in that piece here. So we do operate as a cost recovery unit, and we look to leverage as much cash as possible. So yes, there is a cost associated with all those interactions, but we look at stage gating those pieces and making sure that we're answering the right question for them to go to the next stage. And is there funding that is available to ask that question? So sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's all fully allocated. The iVisit program, but really leveraging on IRAP, Alberta Innovates, some other smaller funding programs before we increase in that. But yes, that we are a cost recovery unit.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to flip around. You're going to see nothing, and then I'll just show you around some of the pieces of equipment. So we'll do that for about 15 minutes, and then we'll proceed on. Oh, is there another question?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, sorry. Okay. Yep, go ahead.
Hi. So my question is, how do you enroll, or how you decide to work with a specific company? You have an application period, it's on roll. Do you have any, probably you have specific criteria with what type of companies and when you decide to work with specific companies?
Our approach is a little bit different there, is that we work with companies that have a problem that they'd like to solve, but we'll work with them too to figure out what that problem is, because what they think they might want to solve may not be where they're at, or it might not be we might not be the right people. But it's all coachability and how much the companies want to have us support them. That's a key piece then on that part. But depending on the type of company they are, will unlock, I would say, certain pools of funding. So we will work with anybody, Canadian, not Canadian, Alberta, not Albertan, one person company, multinational company, but each of those different buckets access different types of funding. So I guess, for example, if you wanted to leverage IRAP funding, you would need to be IRAP eligible, which means that you're incorporated. You may or may not need 2 years of funds. You may or may not need 2 FTEs on your T4s. But some people are self-funded, or if we just ask this one question, it unlocks the next stage where they can access certain types of funding. So everybody is very unique in terms of what their needs are. But I go back to the original part, is if they have a problem and they're curious and they want to work with us to be able to solve their problem, then ultimately that's the best type of people that we would like to work with too.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to turn you around, and then I'm just going to grab my safety glasses because I'll be going off onto the other space. Okay, there you go. So you get to see nothing really quickly. All right, so Sherry's going to be driving you around today. So, oh, you want me to carry this too? Okay, perfect, thanks. So we work with, as we mentioned before, we work with companies of all sizes. So when they first come in, we'll maybe talk to them about their idea, where are they at, what made them come to this spot, what's their pain point, what's keeping them up at night. Sometimes that might reveal something that isn't really the manufacturing problem, but something else altogether. It's certainly in case of early stage entrepreneurs, they come with a really great idea, but then looking at that business control, does anybody care about what you're doing? Do you have any drawings? Do you have any market traction? So we'll work in that early stage as well to determine where they are, and that helps us decide where we're going to be going next. Once we've figured out what that problem is, and we write up a scope of work, here's all the problems that we're going to solve, here's the budget with that. We have funding or it's a fee for service, we'll do a service agreement. Then we bring the team into probably this space here. So this is what we call the fishbowl or our design lab. So we'll walk around too. I'll get walking, don't worry, Sherry. And this is where we do a lot of our design. So in that design, we'll do computer assisted design, computer assisted manufacturing. So that's all about planning using computer tools. This allows us to prepare for that next step of digital manufacturing because you need those tools at the beginning, but also allows us to do rapid simulation, whether that's a solid simulation or another type of simulation, manufacturing assessment pieces on that pace. We may bring in tools like augmented reality to be able to visualize or plan the manufacturing component or the actual product itself. As other visualization tools as well. So that happens a lot in this space here. So we have a number of computers that we work on in that piece. And then once we're ready to go to the next stage, then we would go into prototyping or low run manufacturing. And so we'll see a couple of tools on that today in terms of that prototyping and low run manufacturing. The difference between the two is that when you're prototyping, you're still going through your iterative process to hone in into your best market fit. So that means that you will be failing, you'll be learning, and you'll be and growing. So rather than investing a lot of money into what you think might be the final product, we'll do those quick iterations or fast fails to make better decisions as you move forward. So we use a lot of 3D printers to do that. However, 3D printers also open the door to different design options that weren't available to us previously. So that could be personalization, customization, lower costs in terms of lower run manufacturing, just-in-time delivery. So that this is where this does have a place in that space. And just because something needs to be 3D printed doesn't mean that it should be. We have lots of different materials. So let's take a look at a couple of them today. So yes, behind us here, we have our workhorse. This is the Stratasys Fortis 450 MC. So it's a fused deposition modeling machine. So it means it's the filament that's heated, and we take that digital drawing, slice it all up in a whole bunch of different softwares. Each layer is digitized and tells the printer how much material to deposit at each X, Y, and Z coordinate. So each layer is built up layer by layer to give the final product. What's different than this machine than maybe like the Ultimaker, and I don't know if, it is printing something now. Hey, Jaden. This is Jaden, one of our team members here. So the little bit of filament is heated up and deposited layer by layer. It does do 2 materials, so the supports will be in that space, but it is obviously different than your Ultimaker that you might have at home, that this is in a fully enclosed box. It's all heated, and the reliability, repeatability, and the engineering quality of the pieces that come out of this are much higher level of quality than you would get out of your other machine. So we run this quite regularly, just as our quick ideation. Does this work? Is this what we're talking about? There's like nothing solves the problem better than everybody getting around and touching something, even though we're moving into this digital space. Thanks. Another piece we have here, and this is a super unique piece of equipment. This is a digital light processing printer with it's from Envision Tech, and it's an Extreme 8K. So those are a whole bunch of words on that piece. But this prints elastomers. So those are rubbers, and those are typically more challenging to print on your FDM type of printers that I just showed you. This here has a big vat of a resin. I think I can open it up. I don't know if it's running. Wrong door. There we go. You can take a look in. Is it printing or not? I don't know. It's doing something. But there's that big pot of goo in there. That is a 90 Shore D polyurethane resin, and we use it to make urethane moldings. But interestingly, we're also use it to print off. Oh, do you have is this gooey here? Are these gooey? Those are still gooey and sticky. So we'll be using it to change the lattice structure. So I can change the cell structure, and I think we'll see a piece as we go along that allows us to change the stiffness of a material by changing the cell structure. So instead of a solid, we can put in different engineering or mathematical structures or cell structures to change the stiffness of the whole product. So the material is cured by light on the top. So a light goes on the whole surface and cures it layer by layer. So instead of a laser or a heated extrusion, then that light cures each layer and then goes through a series of processes. So there's only 2 of these in Canada, one in Toronto and one here. We're really using this for customization of and personalization of support for human that need assistive devices. That's something that we're really interested in. So if you need a support for sitting or for some other device here, then we can look at the comfort and the function to be able to use this type of material to do that type of work. Okay. All right, let's move on. Here's a good example right here. Okay, so instead of a solid, you've got you change the structure and it's a bit of a cushion. And if you make it less dense, then it's more squishy. And you can design all of these shapes together so it's stiff in one spot and squishier in the other. All right. I know, right? We're moving fast. So the next machine that we have here is, I'll go in, is our J850 digital anatomy. So this is another type of resin printer, but it's specific to, has a different type of material. We can change the hardness, but I've got some staff here that are looking at the different types of materials in here and the quality control of this type of process. So it's printing right now, and I don't know how well you can see it printing in this piece here. So it's quite a large bed size. What are you guys printing today?
Brain.
A brain. There we go. So yeah, they can't hear. Sorry, we're in there. There we go. I think you can talk in here. Yes. A brain.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're printing a brain.
How's that tech? We're doing good. Yeah, no benchies here. So can we see that brain there? We'll come up share here. So we're doing quite a bit of work in the medical device or medical imaging space. So what we can do is take an X-ray, a CT, an MRI, and use specialized software to take that piece, change the densities of different structures, and then tell the computer we want it this stiffness here or this color here. And you get these hyper realistic models. Why would we use that? Well, that's for patient informed care, increasing communication and patient outcomes for your own medical care. And our side, looking at medical devices, personalization, customization. So that's kind of what that use is here. And I think we have a couple pieces of example over here on the chart here. So this is a really cool piece here. So this is a canine foot and came from an MRI or CT scan of a dog foot. And this was all printed in one spot. So we can see the bone structure, the tissue structure around this space. And then we may do some other designs working with the veterinary surgeon on what they want to do to improve the surgical outcomes of this particular piece. So yes, this is a dog part, which is different than this really cool piece here. I don't know how well you can see that. There you go. So this is an artery that has an embolism in it. And so that came from an MRI. And now we were able to take that from the MRI and print it, so then we could have a discussion on how the surgery and what tools needed to be used to be able to repair that. Okay, so this is why, what can you do with this machine? Well, we're not sure yet, only because it's all up to the community on what they want to do with that. What are we going to be working on this? Certainly on that, printing out those components and making great decisions in discussion of customized medical parts, but we'll also be looking at injection molding and low run injection molding. So after you've done some of your 3D printing and you want to get into the injection molding, we can print off low run injection molds here to test out that design, the fit, before you go and spend tens, hundred thousands of dollars on a machine mold, that we can do that rapid iteration here. So this is a really multifunctional piece of equipment that we use for manufacturing, but also in our medical investigation. And like I said, does full color, all in one print, glossy finishes, multiple hardnesses, so we can change it from a soft guy to, I only have one hand, to a harder one, and change the color and transparency. Anything I missed, team? All good, looks good. I'm excited to see what comes out of this piece. Thanks. Lots of other pieces here. I'm going to go over to the binder jet. Okay, so I'm only going to show two more pieces of equipment today that are really unique. So in terms of that J850, I believe it's the only one in Alberta that's a model up, but we're really excited to be able to integrate it into healthcare, agriculture, veterinary care, consumer goods in that space. So this is where I say, what can we do with it? Well, it's up to our imagination, isn't it? This piece here is a unique piece as well. It's a binder jet 3D printer, so it does metals or ceramics. And instead of the laser going over the surface, then there's a bit of powder. And I think we can hop in here today. I'm not sure if it's running, but we can take a good look at it. So the powder's in the top here, and it gets distributed on the surface. Then the print head comes over and prints the surface, builds up layer by layer. And then that part will go into some of the furnaces behind and completely sinter the part to make it a fully dense metal or ceramic. So here's a good little part right here that you wouldn't be able to cast or machine it, and the fully dense tool steel metal that came out of that part. So really interesting tool that if you're not being able to use like metal laser printing, that the binder jet is a really interesting tool to be able to use. This is how this brings me into the additive manufacturing network that we have in Alberta and sharing those resources. So we have that understanding and capacity of running this equipment, but if you needed another type of printer, we could connect with any of the people in the network to be able to provide that solution here in Alberta. Oh yes, and there is a full list of all of our equipment on the website. So let's see that last piece, and then we'll get into the connection. As we move over to our CNC space, I'm going to pass by our laser cutter and engraver, our vacuum former. I wasn't able to show you today all of our testing equipment, so that's all mechanical testing, Instrons, Sharpie, creep testing, hardness testing. So we'll do that if we need to validate that type of testing. All of our NDT testing. We have a full metal fabrication facility with a 5-axis water jet, shear, a brake, and a welding facility for those larger projects. But one thing I find is really unique about this type of facility too, is that we have a full CNC machine space here that's operated by highly talented and qualified machinists. So we can work with our companies here to say, hey, this is our product, we'll design it. And then the engineers will come to our machinist staff and they'll say, oh no, you can't make it that way. or how do we make this production space? So we'll use the machining for that prototyping, low run manufacturing, but also supporting jig design and fixturing design, productivity enhancements in the machining space. If partners can't get what they need made because they don't have enough time, we'll support them with that space. You're machining a new material, we can do a research project on that space as well. So we have 3 that we use here regularly. We have the horizontal mill. So just different ways of machining. Like machining has a whole bunch of different techniques here. Ryan's in the back here, and he's operating the 5-axis CNC with a trunnion. I'm not sure what we're making, but we might as well go and take a look. What are you making right now? Well, nobody can hear you, but I'll tell them. Yeah, right. So we're making a product for a client in Alberta here, that their product they could no longer fabricate. It was a legacy product, so the manufacturer wasn't around anymore. So we redesigned that product to increase safety standards, and now we're machining a low run to be able to do that type of work. So we'll do that under our permit to practice that we have with APEGA, so the Alberta Professional Engineers license, but we don't, I would say we don't compete with industry. So we're not a manufacturing facility, but we're a precursor to support that growth. However, if we're doing certain types of work, we want to make sure that we're adhering to engineering, ethical guidelines and practices to make sure everything we do is safe and according to code. Okay. And then this one here, this is one of our newer pieces of equipment, the Mazak Integrix I200. It's a 5-axis mill turn machine that has multiple functionality and increases productivity. So you can pass your part from side to side and use a whole bunch of different tools. So you don't have to keep taking the part out and putting it back in. This all goes into the lean manufacturing. Anytime a human has to touch a part means that there's waste happening in that. So that waste is either in time, money, or a quality defect. So this is a really novel piece of equipment. Students do not operate that. I just want to highlight that piece, is that we have our trained people to be able to support that work on these types of equipment. Yeah, so let's open it and take a quick look. Because who doesn't love looking inside a really cool piece of equipment? And I don't know if you want to do a quick point. I can have you talking here. No, he says no. All right, so it does handle really large parts. So this is beyond a small research project. So it's that intersection between, it is a fully industrial piece of equipment, but we have the capacity and the knowledge on how we can adopt this tool into your fabrication process. So it's not a small research piece of machine, it's a fully industrial piece of equipment. As you can see, we can run significantly large parts in here. A variety of different materials. Okay, sound good? Thanks everybody, and thanks Ryan. Okay, so let's head back into the fishbowl, and then we'll open it up for the collaboration and question side. Sound good? All right, yeah, so people can start asking questions because I should be able to hear them while we walk around.
Thank you so much, Tonya. Does anyone have any questions?
Nobody has questions.
Do you have?
So excellent.
I do. I do. May I?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, feel free to unmute.
Yeah, I don't know who you are yet, but that's okay. I can
Sorry.
listen.
My name is Oksana. I work basically for the fintech industry, but also you've touched a string of mine because I'm working with some CNC and machining companies as well. And my question is, in case you have to test a series, do you cooperate also with other CNC and machining companies, or you just work with the clients of yours? I mean, the companies you're helping.
So you're talking about the vendors, right? So do we coordinate? Yeah, no, thanks. Do we connect with our vendor side? So I mean, we have a Mazak here. So yes, we do converse, discuss, theorize with Mazak regularly. We talk to Mazak about some of the issues that they've seen around here and whether there are challenges where their equipment can or cannot fit in. So I'd say we definitely have that relationship with Mazak because we have that large investment of that equipment here. The other two are the Haas machines. But can we work with a company for selecting the appropriate CNC machine equipment for their particular need and be agnostic? Yes, we can support with that if that is that need. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yes, well, yes, but also an additional question. I mean, sometimes people from the industry, they have some practical skills and they might know some how to solve some practical issues. So my question is, well, prototyping, obviously you have your engineers and you have all machines inside, but you might not have all the needed machines.
Okay.
So
yeah. Yeah, good question. Yeah. So do we partner and find other machines that may be around? Absolutely. So we've got a couple of resources here in Red Deer that we use specific for that part. Powder coating is a big piece, laser cutting. We may connect about different types of measurements or integration of like an IoT part in there. So absolutely, we are really engaged, I'd say, in making sure we connect with the entire community and bring the right resources in as required. So if you have an underutilized piece of equipment, let us know and we'll make sure that if it can work in our project flow, that we can connect with you.
Basically companies that work with some prototyping and doing what you're doing, but on a company basis.
But yeah, full on industrial. So if like I'd say our relationship with our local laser cutter. So we don't do just laser cutting, but and I don't have the business case to bring on a full laser cutter, but I'll connect with them to be able to do that portion. So I think that addresses that part. So it's not just in the prototyping, but again, we don't want to compete with industry. So at the end of that journey, if we've got that full recipe of manufacturing, who are the companies out there that would be able to take this on and continue supporting that scale up? So that is part of our service, or how we're involved in the ecosystem, is the what's next. And if there are companies in Alberta that are ready and wanting to take on manufacturing of this run or doing the assembly or supporting that, then in consultation with whoever's running the project, we'll make those connections to grow those businesses here in Alberta. All right. I think Peter's next.
That was really great tour. I think that Mazak machine is phenomenal. And I worked in the steel business back in the day. And I think that little black or white robot head used to be me. So there's lots of aerosols associated with this type of stuff. You know, like lots of particulate, and I see you have lots of great ventilation there. Is it does it stink there sometimes?
I mean, yes, smells and particulate can be distinguished. So yes, there are times then in the research space where we didn't expect a certain outcome to happen. Some of our stinkier pieces, we have moved to different areas of the building that have higher ventilation. But you're absolutely on point with that conversation, is that the standards of ventilation required for many of these advanced tools need to be incorporated into the process. So the air systems that were built when the building was built may or may not meet the needs of the now and of the occupational health processes that we want to provide to our staff. So yes, it can get stinky, but we also have then the luxury of stopping that process because we're not in production run, and to do a full evaluation of that and make any modifications. And that's part of the learnings that we do in our de-risking of certain processes, is that we learn that and we translate all of that information to our community so they don't have to make the same mistakes or learning lessons that we do in de-risking these new technologies.
Thanks, Tonya.
Awesome.
All right.
I
There's
think
a question there.
Oh,
Do you want me to ask this question here? There's one more. I'm launching a luxury smokewear brand and needing to work on some prototypes. I have virtual 3D mock-ups, would like to get them 3D printed. How long would the process take to get my designs printed? Would I have to sign up for the whole program? How much would it cost? Yeah, so in terms of in terms of people wanting to get 3D printed, if you already have a 3D model, and it's not a 3D model, but a CAD file, like a SolidWorks or some piece like that, then we can work with you to make sure we have an NDA before you send us files, but would then need to see the files, make sure that we can print them, or is there modifications that we need to make to have them 3D printed? And then whether it goes in this machine or one of the others that you may have seen today, then we put it in the queue to have that printed and bill you for that work. So there's a material cost, and then if there's any work that we need to do in the CAD, then that would be added on top of that. That I can't give you an exact cost because I don't know how much, like what material you want, what the size of that is, but I think we've got the link, like the innovation at rdpolytech.ca. Send a little hi into there, and one of our team will get back to you to be able to explore that for you. Okay, yep, and the list, the equipment is all there. So I will pass it off back to Rainforest then to continue with your program here, and I'll stay on the line and be part of the community discussing. And I think I have some of our other staff here today too. So I think Ben is here, our business development advisor, and Jennifer Dornstetter, our design engineer, manufacturing design engineer on here. So if we're part of that community of questions, then we can be part of that.
Awesome.
So Amber, back to you.
Thank you so much, Tonya. It was so great to have you here today and to tour us around. It was so fun. So yeah, I'm going to open the breakout rooms. We'll probably have time for one, and then we'll come back here around 12:55 for community announcements. So if you have any announcements you'd like to share with the group, please queue those up. If you're looking for something to break the ice in the breakout rooms, just introduce yourself, you know who you are, what brought you here, or continue talking about what we learned today. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms, and here we go. Tonya, for being here today, and for everyone at Red Deer Polytechnic for being here and sharing the tour and sharing everything about the TAC. And we're really excited to collaborate and learn more. And thank you. And so now it's community announcements. So if you have a story to tell, if there's someone that you want to tell a story about, we have the Rainforest Leaders, Innovators, Big Ideas podcast. We're looking for guests. We're looking for hosts. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me, reach out to Aldel Dagan. I also posted the link in the chat as well, but we'd love to have you as a guest or host. Community Now magazine, Design the Shift, is happening tomorrow. I put the link in the chat. Check that out. And I think Peter probably wants to mention the gala happening on Friday. So I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, thanks, Amber. And yes, it's a party over at the Happiness Collaborative on the 3rd floor of Bankers Hall, and 5 o'clock, when we're getting together and celebrating 5 years of the Community Now magazine. So our very own Krista Malden, who's been that entrepreneur and building up that magazine asset for 5 years. Come on over and join us. There might be a few snacks and maybe even some cocktails.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other announcements?
Wow, go ahead. Cricket.
Oh, yes. If you are in the Red Deer area, Jeff has created 2 meetups, a tech and a startup meetup. So if you're in Red Deer, connect with Jeff and check that out. There is some other announcements. They're on our social media channels. I'll also throw them in the Slack channel if you're there, and I'll throw them in this chat as well. I don't have them now. That's terrible. I should. But yes, I'll throw them in our Slack and our social media and in this channel for everyone. If you're looking for more events next week, it's Pride event. It's Pride. There's a Queer Tech conference happening at Inception U next Thursday, August 31st. They're coming from Montreal to host a queer tech innovation. And then the YYC Queer Innovation Meetup is having a get together at Spirits with Smoke at Work Nicer rail yards. So come out and have some drinks and connect with people in the innovation sector. Yeah, I guess if no one has any other announcements, next week we're virtual. We'll be learning from, we're not visiting any tax next week. We will be learning about the Government of Canada, the procurement, and how they support entrepreneurship. So that'll be really fun. So come check it out.